Welcome to Pictures of Grace, a Fraser 365 Advent devotional. My name is Chris Montgomery, Senior Pastor of Fraser Church, and I'm so glad you're on this Advent journey with us. May the Lord bless you today as we learn about His unmerited grace.
Welcome to Day 4 of Pictures of Grace, an Advent daily devotional. Today's title is The Cost of Grace. In Philip Yancey's book, What's So Amazing About Grace, he shares, grace is free only because the giver himself has borne the cost. Today's text comes from Genesis chapter 38, verses 12 through 19. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua's daughter, died. When Judah was comforted, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And when Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear a sheep," she took off her widow's garments and she covered herself with a veil, wrapping herself up, and she sat at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up and she had not been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He turned to her on the roadside and said, "Come, let me come in to you," for he did not know she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me that you may come in to me?" He answered, "I will send you a young goat from the flock." And she said, "If you give me a pledge until you send it." So he said, "What pledge shall I give you?" Where she replied, "Your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand." So he gave them to her. And he went into her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went away, and taking off her veil, she put back on the garments of her widowhood. Tamar was in a tough spot in her journey of life. She needed to come up with a plan. Her plan was only as good as Judah's immorality. It would not work if Judah didn't give in to the temptation. Something about Judah's past gave Tamar the ideal for her future. Sin has a way of blindsiding us. Temptation can come out of nowhere, which is why we must always be spiritually prepared. One commentary described Judah's scenario this way: that this was an unplanned stop on his trip is proven by the fact that Judah had nothing to pay for her services, but she requested compensation. He offered to send her a young goat from his flock later. Tamar wanted something as a pledge that he would keep his promise. He wanted to know what she desired, so she requested his signet seal, which was the instrument he used to sign his name on clay, and his staff, and he complied. Judah's sin would cost, and he didn't have a way to pay for it. Isn't that always the case with sin? Sin always costs, and the cost of grace is beyond what any of us can afford. Sin also is personal, as it is evidenced in what Tamar requested for a down payment for his sin. These items are intriguing. These are identity markers. A seal was used on soft clay to leave an impression that was unique to Judah. The walking stick would also have features that would connect it to Judah. Leaving these items would be like leaving a driver's license or a credit card today. Sin is both personal and costly, and Jesus personally paid the price for the grace he offers with his sacrificial death. So as we think now about today's reading, let's reflect on the following questions. How does the cost of grace increase the value of grace? And how can your life be a daily thank you to God? Please pray with me. Oh, Father, help us not to be blindsided by sin, but to walk so closely to you, living in the freedom of your grace. Lord, may my life be a daily thank you to you. We love you, Father, in your Son's name. Amen.